Hello, Patreon subscribers, and welcome to your special August spooky story. And we are once again on site for this exclusive spooky story. This is going to be a bit of a longer one. This was actually quite a haul from where we are in eastern Connecticut, over 2 hours away from a lot of folks on the eastern side of the state. We find ourselves right now in the historic, spooky Dudleytown. Now, we've mentioned Dudleytown before. You've probably heard of it. It's legendary here in the Nutmeg State because it's known as the ghost town, the place of evil, the dwelling of the damned. Why is that? People swear this is one of the most haunted places in the entire world. People swear that if you spend too much time here, you go mad, insane, your brain totally scrambled. So you must know that we care so deeply for you, our subscribers, that we would put ourselves right here in the middle of where this village of Dudleytown was to make sure that you get to see it and get to hear all about it. And is there any truth to the tales? Well, history states that there is, and we are all about haunted history. So today I am going to the book Legendary Connecticut, which many of you have probably seen me reference before. It was written some decades ago, but it has some of the most profound information about legendary hauntings such as these. Now, I want to point out that we are here in midday in August, and though we have glimmers of the sun peeking in, it is remarkably dark here, and we had to go on the dark entry road to get here. And it's named this because they even said this area received such little light that it allowed the ground to not be prosperous, and that perhaps was effective to people, and people up here quite literally lived in the dark. So that could be a part of the mystery as well. But in order to understand it, let's delve into legendary Connecticut and their take on the cursed village. Now, author David Phillips reports this. On a hilly plateau surrounded by four 1,500-foot mountains. It is a bit of a hike. Poor Marty is holding the camera behind you right now, having hiked up a great bit of it. He brought me at least to the entrance of the Mohawk Trail, which goes into Dudleytown, but they have it so, right, Marty? You can confirm. He's nodding with exasperation. They have it so that you actually have to walk up the entire dark entry road to get here, so that you can't park anywhere near Dudleytown because the Dark Forest Association that owns a part of this land forbids it. And there's actually private property signs all around here. But nevertheless, we are surrounded by four 1,500-foot mountains overlooking the village of Cornwall Bridge. A lovely covered bridge actually sits in that village, giving it its name. It is in Connecticut's northern westmost corner here in Litchfield County, and there's was once a thriving community. Here, before there were any settlers of English descent, this is where the Mohawk Native Americans resided, and that is why the trail is named after them. They used to hunt some deer here, gathered some wild herbs for medicinal teas, and they would do a lot of this and make this in the full moons of May and June would be their harvest season up here. Now, here they would be surrounded by oak, maple, and chestnut. There were lots of owls, and some folks even called this region Owlsbury because of all of the owls that used to reside here. But if you notice, while we're up here, there's not really many sounds of birds or animals, just a few in the distance, which is one of the great mysteries of Dudleytown, how even so many living creatures don't live here. Now, they would hoot the owls from noon to the darkest hours, so this should be the hours that we would hear them. As part of the general movement inland from the coastal regions of Connecticut, the first English settlers arrived here in the middle of the 1700s. In 1738, a gentleman named Thomas Griffiths was the first title to real estate on this land in the southern part of Cornwall Township. And he was followed by many other families, the Joneses, Carters, Porters, Pattersons, Tanners, Rogers, Dibbles, and more. Some would find fame even in their time in early America. It was not until 1747 that the Dudleys actually arrived here. And it was a pair of brothers, Abiel and Barzillai. Now, they were soldiers in the French and Indian Wars, and they were joined a bit later by some more Dudleys, Gideon and Abijah. Now, along with other early arrivals, the Dudleys cleared the land, planted buckwheat, killed deer for winter food supply, and established their farms on the irregular upland plain. And Marty and I were just discussing this. You can kind of see the old stone walls behind me that are marking the fences and the property lines that they would have built here. And Marty even said this is really difficult, how steep and uphill this is. When a rainstorm comes, this is just going to be totally detrimental. So they kind of went against what, common sense dictated on building there. But they were industrious, and they destined to give the family name to the growing community. And it says, but also in the certain estimation of many, they were the ones responsible for the curse that would come over this community a century or so later. Now, for 100 years, Dudleytown expanded and prospered. And thanks to the hard work, strong constitutions, and versatile skills of the 30 to 40 families who lived here through many generations, it was doing, by all accounts, well. It was during the last quarter of the 18th century, so from American Revolution to the early 1800s, that many of them prospered from the booming iron industry in the area. And this was helped by a great furnace on the nearby Mount Riga. If I'm moving a bit, poor Marty is trying to stand on this steep decline, so you may get different bodily views of me during this video. Now, during the last quarter, like I said, during the Revolutionary War, almost every Dudleytown family augmented its farming pursuits by cutting and burning wood for charcoal so that they could stoke the many furnaces in the area. And some even operated their own backyard smelters, fed by locally mined ore and heated with local wood coal. It was by 1800 that Dudleytown had its own town hall and meeting house, and there were improved thoroughfares like Dudleytown and Dark Entry Road, which does still exist. And this was to accommodate the heavy traffic of horses and riders and a growing number of substantial houses. And there are still houses on the Dark Entry Road today. There were no visible signs then that the village would be anything but permanent or prosperous. Everything seemed to be going well for Dudleytown. And during its green years, Dudleytown produced an extraordinary number of citizens who did achieve fame, as we mentioned, and careers in Connecticut. For instance, there was Mary T. Cheney. She was a native of Dudleytown who went away to teach school and later became the wife of Horace Greeley, who was the founder of the New York Tribune and advocate of a Western youth movement, and also was an unsuccessful presidential candidate in 1872, losing the campaign to Ulysses S. Grant. The village had an even closer brush with the White House when Samuel Jones Tilden, grandson of Dudleytown's Major Samuel Jones, received one less vote than Rutherford B. Hayes in the 1876 Electoral College balloting. No one then blamed the Dudleytown jinx, however. Other Dudleytowners had eminent careers in education and ministry. Deacon Thomas Porter, a churchman and militia captain, selectman, and member of the Cornwall School Board, moved north in his later years and became a Vermont Supreme Court judge. His son Ebenezer Porter was born in Dudleytown and gained national recognition as president of Andover Seminary. He is said to have turned down several offers to become a college president because of a chronic pulmonary ailment. The sons of Andrew Andrews, why do people do this with their names, right? Anyway, I digress. The sons of Andrew Andrews moved into Gideon Dudley's place after Gideon's death and became prominent Connecticut lawyers. Benajah practiced in Middletown, while his brother Andre was Connecticut's